Good morning, YouTube. It's Larson Hicks. Welcome to my channel again. Thanks for joining me. I'm sitting in my car right now. I tried to record this at home and had a bunch of interruptions and technical failures, and so I left the house. I'm in my car. I'm about to go to a coffee shop, and I thought I'd just pull over and try to get this recorded and uploaded so that I can move on to the next thing on my to-do list. But today I wanted to talk about getting a job and the right way and the wrong way, and kind of my personal tips about how best to find a good job and get a good job. And I'd love for you, thank you for everyone who subscribed to the channel and who's commented. I'd love to make this comment section kind of a repository of stories, success stories, failure stories, advice on getting a job, because it's something a lot of people are doing right now, and I think it's a good thing to talk about and help one another on. And so I'm just going to share my advice, my history, and hopefully it works for you. So the one thing I'll mention just at the outset is that I think getting a promotion internally is really hard. And I talked about this a little bit in my video yesterday, but for one, they know what you make, right? And so their inclination is going to be to ask how much do we have to pay this person? How much more do we have to pay this person to do this harder job or whatever? And generally, it's going to be they're going to try to get away with as little as possible, right? Where a new employer doesn't really know what you made. Actually, it's illegal for them to ask you what you make or require you to answer that question. And so you're welcome to say, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I think this job is worth, and this is what I think I'm worth. And kind of side skirt that question. The other reason why I think it's hard for a company, from a pay standpoint, I just think you can make a lot more money going to another company than you can staying where you're at. And it's not some people don't like change, don't like mixing it up that way, and that's fine. You do you. I'm not judging you. Just don't expect to get as far, at least in terms of promotions and raises and things like that. I think it's really hard for companies to find good people. And when you're a big company and you're hiring a lot of people, the application thing is kind of just the easiest way to scale hiring, but it's a really imperfect way to find good people. And what I tell my employees, I told my team yesterday that yes, delivering good value to the client matters. Yes, having a good price is important, but really the thing that people value most in business is the people, is working with good people. And if that matters from a business to business standpoint, it certainly matters internally. Like we want good people. I would far rather hire somebody who's got no experience at my company and what we do and in our industry, but who I know is really hard, has a great work ethic, is really smart, is great with people, is going to be a cultural fit, is going to make my team better, is going to be good to work with. I'd far rather hire that person than somebody who knows our industry inside and out. But I don't. It's a big question mark on all those other things. So, I think applying for jobs can be a big waste of time, and it's really emotionally draining to just fill out application after application and get ignored and not getting your feedback, and it kind of wears you down. And I see a lot of people end up just settling for a crappy job because they just got worn out by the whole process. So I want to suggest a better way of finding a job, and this is one that I've done personally, and I've also helped some friends do this, and I've seen it work. So, take it for what it's worth. But the bottom line is that networking is key, okay, to this process. So instead of spending all your time applying to jobs, try this, and I think you're going to you'll be surprised by the results. So let's just take a scenario. You're like me, you live in Moscow, Idaho, and you think you need to you need to move on in your career, and so you find a place where you think there's some good opportunities for you. Let's say Huntsville, Alabama. Folks, come on out. We'd love to have you. But yeah, find a place, and and where you think there's good opportunities, or maybe it's in your own town, but there's a new market or new industry that you want to try to get into. So what you do first is get networked. Start calling people, start emailing people, and you can be really straightforward. Just, you find someone that's working at a company, maybe in the kind of job that you want to be in, and say, hey man, I'd love to meet. I'm planning on moving my family out there. I'd like to get into that industry. Do you have like 10 minutes for a quick phone call? I'd just love to introduce myself and learn a little bit about your job, learn a little bit about you. Most people like talking about themselves. More often than not, people are willing to jump on. If you haven't watched my video about nagging, persistence, and the art of the nag, you should watch that, because just that first email is not enough. And if you stop there, then you're not really trying, and it's not even worth sending the first email if you're not gonna be committed to nagging people. So watch my other video on that. More on that on this next step. So get connected with people and learn, and you're going to find people who are connected with lots of people. There are people whose jobs are just to network, people like Chamber of Commerce and economic development organizations and workforce development organizations and startup incubators. And there's people like that you can start with. Go, who do you know in this industry that you think I should talk to? What companies are doing interesting things? Do you have a friend, or do you know somebody who's in this specialty, this industry that I'm trying to get into? And the big thing to ask at the end is, hey, do you mind if I poke around on your LinkedIn connections, and if I see anybody that looks interesting, do you mind if I reach out and just mention that we're friends, or that I met you, or just say like, hey, so and so said I should reach out to you? 9 times out of 10, people are going to be more than happy for you to do that. It's like, they're not going to say, no, don't look at my LinkedIn connections, and no, don't tell people you know me. Like that's a pretty easy ask, but ask, get that permission from them. And of course, if they say no, then respect that. But so that's kind of step 1. Step 2 is to write an email. And this can be this needs to be a very simple email. You're not trying to sell anything. You're not trying to close a deal. You're not trying to ask for a job. All you're doing is you're identifying people that you want to talk to that may be potential employers someday, and you're sending them an email. And the email should be something like this: hey, so-and-so, my friend so-and-so suggested that I connect with you. I'm planning on moving my family to the area in the fall, and I'm going to be out in 2 weeks meeting with some potential companies, or meeting with some potential clients, meeting with some friends, whatever it is. But I'd love to meet with you. If you have 15 minutes on Monday or Tuesday in a couple weeks, I'd really love to just meet you and kind of get the lay of the land, learn about you and your business, and kind of get your take on the industry. That's it. You're not asking for anything more than that. It's very specific. It's kind of binary. You're going to get a yes or a no, or they're going to ignore you. And you can push through on ignoring and even the no. Usually the no is not going to be a no. It's going to be like, oh, I'm busy that day. And then you can kind of push for a different day, right? Well, actually, I'm going to come back the following week. Would that work for you? Or my schedule's kind of flexible. Is there a better time that might work for you, right? So write the email. And again, if you're just sending the one email, you're not trying. You need to be committed to email 2, which is going to be something like, hey, just following back up on this. Do you have time on that Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday to meet? I'd love to connect with you. Thanks. Let me know. Email 3, a couple days later. Hey, just checking back in on this. Are you interested in connecting? Thanks. Let me know. And then 4th email, kind of breakup email. A couple days later. Hey, so-and-so, I haven't heard back. And if I don't hear back, I'll assume that you're not interested in meeting. No problem. Hope you're well. All the best. Cheers. Again, my experience, you're going to get more responses to that last email than you will to your first, second, or third email, probably combined, right? So that's the process. Don't feel weird about the fact that you have to kind of go through this process to kind of remind people that you want to talk, and to prove to them that like you're not just being lazy. You actually do want to talk to them. And more often than not, people view it as a favor, like, oh yeah, I was going to respond to you, I just forgot. So don't feel weird about that. Okay, that's the second step. Then you're going to meet with people, the third step. And again, you're not asking for a job. You're not applying for a job. You're just saying, hey, okay, I forgot to mention this. On that email, the last thing I'd suggest is the last sentence can be something like, by the way, I include a couple bullet points below about me, just to give you some background. Cheers. And then those bullet points, like 3-4 bullet points, I do this, or I got my background's in this. This is the kind of stuff I'm into. Here's an example of the kind of project that I worked on. Just give them like 2-3 highlights. Just don't try to overdo it. You're not sharing a CV. You're just trying to get your foot in the door and help them understand who you are and what you're about, and be a human, and keep it simple. You don't want to ask them to do a bunch of work just to connect with you. You're making it really, really, really easy for them to understand. Okay, this is a dude from Moscow. This is a dude who's got this background. He just wants to have a meeting. Sure. So do that, get the appointment. When you get the meeting set, it's just shake hands. And the goal of the meeting is not to get a job. Be patient. The goal is to connect, to prove that you're a normal person, that you're a good person, that you're somebody that they might enjoy spending time with. Become a friend. That's the main purpose. Share some background, try to collect some info. Tell me about you and your family, and what's your background? How'd you end up at this job? What do you guys do? Like, are you guys growing? Like, what have you guys been working on? Very cool. And obviously there should be points in there where you go, oh yeah, I've got some experience with that, or I know some people in that industry, or I've done some of that stuff. So you have an opportunity in there to kind of interject and prove that you know what you're talking about, and that you belong, that you might be worthwhile, but you're not trying, aggressively to like sell yourself. It's not a job interview. You're really interviewing them, which is cool. You're kind of flipping the script. And again, finish that email or that meeting with, hey, is there anybody else you think I should meet with? Just in this industry, I'm really interested in X, Y, and Z stuff that you mentioned. Is there anybody else in the area that you think I should connect with? I just would love to continue to get the lay of the land and learn kind of what's going on out here and what opportunities there are. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get, my buddy, you might talk to my buddy over at that company. They're doing some interesting stuff. It may not go anywhere, but it's worth it. That's always a good question to finish with. So just personal story. I've done this for some friends. It's worked. In my case, followed that whole process, networked, had some phone calls with some people in the area, got their permission, started going crazy, reaching out to people, booked a trip, met with 10, 15 people on it was actually, I took my whole family and I went out to North Carolina. Spent Thursday, Friday, met with a bunch of people, drove out to my brother's house in Jacksonville. And on Saturday morning, I just got back on my email and said, I'm going to try to see if I can book a bunch more meetings on Monday and Tuesday. And just sat down at a coffee shop, pounded out a bunch of emails, same kind of thing. Hey, I'm going to be out, got some meetings, would love to connect with you for 15 minutes. Ended up setting up another 10 or 15 meetings. And so came home with tons of connections, a bunch of leads, ended up with some job interviews. All of it was great. The other thing I'll mention, and the reason why I think you should do this, and again, this is my own personal experience, is the best jobs out there are to be had are actually the jobs that they're not advertising for, that they don't even necessarily know that they need. And that's kind of the cool thing about skirting the whole formal job application process is people want to hire good people, and they'll find places to stick you if you're somebody that they want to have at their company. In my experience, I actually had breakfast with a guy at a company, and a friend introduced us, and there wasn't the hey, I'm looking for a job kind of thing at all. But halfway through breakfast, he goes, hey, how much money do you need to make? I just said, yeah, this amount. And he goes, I think we can afford you. You want to come have lunch with us? It's like, sure. So I had lunch, and they ended up, they weren't hiring for the job that they hired me for. They kind of created it and said, well, we like this guy. We think he's smart and he could add some value, has some good ideas. And let's just kind of create a job for this guy and turn him loose. And that ended up being a great opportunity. Had a great time working there, worked there for 3 years. Had a lot of success there. So anyway, that's my encouragement. it's not necessarily going to work for everybody, but I really think anybody can do this. I mean, I think if you're a 16-year-old, you could do this without any experience. And I think obviously if you're a 35-year-old with a lot of experience, you can do this. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your feedback. And happy job hunting. It's brutal out there. Fortunately, I think the job market's pretty hot. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it seems like it's pretty hot. But again, it's very discouraging to get online and to apply to a bunch of jobs. And so I found this to be just a way more fruitful way to attack it. You have to go into it with some faith, right? And just trusting that God loves you and that you're going to land somewhere, and not necessarily trying to overthink it or control it. Just let's see where this goes. I'm going to go meet with a bunch of people. I'm going to go put myself out there, and let's just see where it goes. I ended up, just my own story. I had worked in software and I'd done sales and customer service. Ended up doing some like consulting, which wasn't really a plan. I tried to start some businesses that failed. And then I ended up at a biotech company, right? And I wasn't applying for biotech jobs, wasn't looking at biotech companies, but it was a good fit. They had some problems that they thought I could help them solve, and turned out I could. And I figured it out. I learned a ton, had a great time, and then I ended up in a completely different industry next. And the same kind of process of just putting myself out there and meeting people. So anyway, that's my experience. I hope that works for you. If you have questions, if you're writing an email and you're like, this email stinks, I'd love to run this by Larson, see what he thinks. I love that kind of thing. Writing emails is like my spiritual gift. I love doing that. And so yeah, send me what you got. And I hope this is helpful. All right, have a great rest of your Friday, great weekend. We'll see you soon. Cheers.